Thanks for doing this, Tim. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Linda's in the States now and she can't join us.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, guys, for whoever's watching this, I'm here with Dr. Tim Berg, who's here in Kijabe Hospital in Kenya. And he is a general surgeon who serves with us here. And Tim, I just wanted to ask you just a couple things about your experience here and in missions as a whole. And maybe start off by asking you what advice you might give a new missionary going to the field to work as a medical missionary.
Well, that's a big topic right there. Well, I think it's funny, when we were sitting down to prepare, one of the things I think is having some resources you can kind of look at. And so one of the things that came to mind was this book that I referred to. I still have it on my shelf. It's called On Being a Missionary by Thomas Hale. And it covers a lot of different subjects. And it's comforting because you see a very experienced missionary having the same sort of struggles and things that you've had. So that's and there's lots of other resources out there, but that's something to maybe have those in mind. But I think personally, I was encouraged to, and I'm not really good at this, but to try to have some people that you can ask to pray for you about things that are really your heart issues. In other words, you should have maybe a separate email list for that's not your newsletter email list, but 5 or 6 or 7 people that you can just say, hey, I'm struggling with my marriage, I'm really ticked off at another missionary, I'm getting really discouraged now, I don't know what my call is. Those kind of things that you just don't want to put in a newsletter to everybody or put in a blog post. So that's sort of, because I think you'll need to be able to open up like that. So those are kind of some things that come to mind immediately about getting yourself kind of prepared.
Good, that's good stuff. Let me ask you, what have been your biggest challenges on the mission field since you've been out here? I know you were in Rwanda for a while first before coming here to do more clinical education role. In between these two sites, can you identify some of your biggest challenges and things maybe that you would have approached a little differently in retrospect?
Well, first of all, as I've reflected on the difficulties, and I realized one thing is that I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been overall been just very, very, very thankful for the opportunity to be here, and despite all the challenges and difficulties and heartaches that have come along with it. But so I guess for us, and our children were a little bit older, teenagers, and you're really not supposed to go to the field initially with teenagers. We were told that, and I guess maybe we should have listened. I don't know, but that was and actually the age group for my son, who was around 11 or 12, he turned out to be the one that was actually very compliant initially, but I think it turned out to be the hardest for him because he was in a transition period, the identity issues and so forth with him, and he was very homesick also at first. It's turned to be a very positive thing for him, but it was not without a lot of questions during that time. Gosh, have we done really the wrong thing? Because when you see your kids maybe struggling, and you're wondering, gosh, are we ruining our kids' lives and that sort of thing. So that was one area that was hard. And then I think another area that is kind of a tension, I think, that I have felt from the very beginning has been the tension between the interaction with people who are so lacking in resources, and then realizing how much that I have. And of course your tendency is just to give everything away and try to fix everything and all that. And but that's a tension, that's a reality that's really hard to live with, realizing for some reason I've been given an education and financial wherewithal and supporters, and a lot of people have not. They're trying to make a living by digging in the dirt and that sort of thing. So that's something that's just it's really hard to live with. That's that tension, and then the tension of trying to do your work without adequate resources, and you feel like, gosh, if I just had so and so, I could do this, and so that's a tension I think that doesn't ever go away either. But what you do with that, and how you bring it to the Lord, and how you innovate and partner, and there's a lot of things that come out of it, but still it doesn't ever get solved. You don't ever solve a lot of these things, you just live with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that people that stay on the mission field a long time are able to live with some of these tensions. There are tensions that develop that are real, and but they grow you too. So those are things that I think that particular things. I can be more specific, but those are basically some of the ones that come to mind.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing this. That's great input. So we ask you about challenges, but what about blessings? Tell me about some of the major blessings that you think you may have had since you've been here, small or large, I guess.
Well, and I'd say in a reflection to the challenges. This is a spiritual, scriptural principle, and we all know it. Mm-hmm. But when you start really keeping a list of things you're thankful for and grateful for, it really it changes has changed my perspective, and I've found as a result of that, when I'm focusing on what I'm wanting as opposed to what I'm lacking, and what I'm thankful for as opposed to what's wrong, focusing on the solution and not the problem. We have to identify problems, and most doctors are especially good at being critical, we identify problems, we're problem solvers, but it can be very disheartening if you're always looking at your problem and instead of looking at focusing on the problem and not focusing on what God's doing. So, but the blessing. So one of the blessings has just been honestly just realizing that sort of thing. So those sorts, as you faced with these challenges, you've got to grow spiritually, and you don't really grow if you're not really being pushed and suffering a little bit. I haven't really suffered, really, honestly, but you know what I mean. It's where you're being pushed to your limits, and it's good for your prayer life, So, but probably one of the greatest blessings you can categorically is just the people I'm working with, people I encounter in this setting. It's just, not only are they just some of the most amazingly talented and creative people, but they're just often just extremely humble, and it's people you just won't meet anywhere else, and it's very uplifting to be associated with the kind of people that I'm with every day, and it's just I don't know, I really, that's something that's just such a big blessing. And then I think it's been a blessing for my family. I mentioned my teenagers. I realized that one of the things that I was teaching my kids before I came here is that the American dream was what it was all about. I didn't really believe it. Sure. But practically I was showing them that. You go to school, you work hard, you get a good education so you can have a nice job to make a lot of money so you can go on good vacations and have nice cars. That's kind of what that's the American way, right? And so seeing a life that's kind of oriented around helping those people in need and not having all the stuff and being limited that way, it's opened my kids' eyes up too. And that's as a parent, there's nothing that really makes you happier to see your kids realizing that as well, to realize, what, life may not just be all about me, and seeing the need that's out there, and their story's not told yet. They're still, they're in their education years and all, but still, they have been changed in a very positive way. And so that's been a blessing as a dad, seeing that. That's been real huge for me.
That's good.
Yeah. A couple things like that.
Well, thanks, Tim. Thanks for taking the time to
Yep.
do this. I appreciate it.
Yeah.